Welcome to Power Couples Rock Live, episode 2.
Hey, yes, number 2.
False start. Let's rewind. It's live. You know, that's the cool thing about live streaming is that everybody just is kind of forgiving. It's like if you say something, wrong or do whatever, or, accidentally, pick your nose, it's fine. Everybody's cool with it, right? No?
That's right.
We're not picking the nose.
Hey, it's a community. We just love you the way you are.
Exactly. Oh my God.
So to Power Couples, welcome. If this is your first time on Power Couples Rock Live, don't go back to the replay until after tonight. But 2 weeks ago, we had our inaugural version of Power Couples Rock Live, and it was awesome. We had a ton of fun. We were joined by Harold and Dahlia Arnold from Eusebia. And it was totally inspirational, and I can't think of a better first guest for Power Couples Rock Live than Harold and Dahlia. We even have a surprise special guest with Pastor
yes, we did.
Alvin Parker, who joined us out of the blue from True Word Christian Center out of Nashville, or Hermitage, I believe.
Hermitage, Tennessee, which is a suburb of Nashville.
Yeah, that was a special treat.
Yeah, and our musical guest was our favorite mainstream duo on Carnival Cruise Line and power couple extraordinaire, Rick and Ruby Montgomery, who brought the house down with a song that they had just written a few days before regarding power couples and married couples in the midst of this tragedy and what they need to be focusing on. So it was just an amazing show, but I think we may have raised the bar tonight. Carlos, Katherine, do you think we may have raised the bar?
I think so too.
It's your show, man. You can say whatever you want, dude.
No, here it is. Rick and Ruby have actually started a live show on Thursday nights.
Are you serious?
On Facebook. Yes, and they're doing some of their mainstream music. I think it's at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live. So if people want to join in with them and hear their beautiful voices, they can do that.
Yeah, and they're taking special requests like right on the spot. So
they are.
So that's good. If you have a favorite love song that you want, to sing to your boo, you can request a song and they'll sing it right there.
I love it. I love it. So a little housekeeping. So we've got a bunch of people that are already in. I'm seeing the numbers. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Right. So what we want this to be is as interactive as you want to make it. And I know you've been all week, you've been in the house. You had all your kids at home from school. You got the dogs in, everybody and it's just like you're ready to surround yourself with other married couples and do some life together. Okay, so that's what we want to do here on Power Couples Rock Live. So I want you in that chat. We're seeing a ton of people on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube up here. Please give us a shout out and let us know. The Johnsons are tuned in right here. What's up?
People.
Okay. Hey, Power Couples from, is it CD? How do we say this? CD?
Abbasadie.
Okay. Yeah. And Landon Johnson. I'm seeing a bunch of these things. Please let us know that you're in the chat, that you're watching us, that you're interacting. Of course, our guest tonight, we've got Laura Benton from Seattle. Our musical guests are Carlous and Janelle from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yes.
Oh man, I spent yesterday listening to a lot of their music. I'm stoked. I'm stoked to hear them.
They
super talented, wonderful voice. Dude can play. It's something that is, we raise the bar. So if you have questions while we're in a conversation here with Laura, while we're doing life with Carlous and Janelle, please chime in the chat. We'll pop you up on the screen. We want to be able to answer that question. We want to make this as communal as possible for everybody that's out. Let us know where you're joining us from. Last week we had people from all over the country that joined us. Tonight, I'm already seeing that. So please, if you would, chime in and let us know what's up.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm excited because our first part of the show, we're going to have a beautiful friend of ours that we have come to know now for well over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been such an amazing resource for us, as well as she has some great insight from a couple's perspective and just from basically what we're living in today, because she is actually coming from the initial epicenter of the coronavirus in Seattle, Washington. So I'm so stoked about her story and the value that she's going to be able to bring to us. So are you guys ready to bring her on?
I'm ready to bring her on.
Let's bring her.
Let's get it going.
Let me introduce her. Her name is Laura Benton, and she's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's been in her practice for over 17 years, and she's also the co-founder of, it's called the Unity Collective, which is a multi-ethnic Christian nonprofit counseling service. And so inside is just on couples of all diversity, ages, races, all of that. And then she's been married to her wonderful husband we met last year for over 20 years. And they have 2 wonderful kids. And I love what she says. These kids get along beautifully. So they never argue, fuss, or fight.
Oh, was that pre-COVID-19?
Exactly.
Maybe she can give us a few tips on how we work that into our house.
We got questions already now.
Exactly.
So if you would, please welcome to Power Couples Rock, Laura Benton.
Thanks
for joining us.
Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm so excited to be here. And you know what? I'm calling in from my office. My kids are around the corner at home with Matt. So they are either laughing about what you just said or they're punching each other. They might be punching each other. Yeah.
I know it. I thought that was beautiful, though. So just welcome to our show, Laura. Just so excited to have you on.
Yeah, I'm ready to jump right in.
Okay.
Yes. Surviving, thriving.
We are all surviving right now, right? We are surviving. That is the invitation. We are. I'm so thankful that you guys invited me on. It's such a pleasure. I've watched you from afar. I didn't know this was the second iteration. I watched Harold and Dahlia last week, but I thought, they've been doing this forever. I'm just the last to the party. Does that happen?
We're professionals like that, right?
Speak for yourself. I'm an amateur. Sorry.
I love it. So thank you. It's an honor. And I know that you guys, I just wanted to start by saying that we are in this together. I know that we are across many miles and that those who are tuning in are all over the country and experiencing different waves of the uncertainty that we're living in right now. And I've just found in all the conversations that I'm having with couples and individuals that a lot of people are asking of themselves and their household, is this normal right now? Like, is what we're feeling and what we're experiencing and the struggle that we feel in juggling, whether that's kind of childcare and work demands or the emotional shifts and waves and sometimes disappointment and grief. I've heard almost every hour, are we okay? Is this normal? Is this how are other people faring better or worse than us? And so I firstly want to engage that question and say, it's normal. Whatever we're feeling in the face of uncertainty and change and transition and unexpected life events and transformation, it's probably normal. It's probably common. Finding that people, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say is that because you are in the initial epicenter of when this coronavirus hit, being in Seattle, Washington. And our goal for tonight is to not only talk about that, but how do couples thrive and survive and thrive in this particular situation? Could you just walk us through that initial conversation or action that took place once you guys found out in Seattle, this is what's going on? How did you and Matt, your husband, handle that situation?
Great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I can't remember because it feels like about 20 years ago, even though it was only 3.5 weeks, because time has changed. I mean, the days run together. But I will say that in our community, it was certainly being the first city in the States that had cases. I know plenty of countries and cities were living this before us, but there was a lot of uncertainty. There was maybe a wave of panic in the community. People flooded to the grocery stores. You're probably living that. The shortage of toilet paper was real. And
it's still real.
Yeah, that's real. So that continues on. But I would say that initially people experienced a lot of fear of the unknown. You know, how close does this come to us? How will our families be affected? How do we position ourselves with our loved ones who might be further away and maybe older or vulnerable for different reasons? Do we go there? Do we bring them here? There were a lot of questions about how do we get where we need to be, and people coming together and encouraging each other to find what was needed. And then we settled into a new normal where we then address each day's changes. You know, whether we would have school for the children or childcare for kids. Whether people's jobs and businesses were going to stay open or not, and the people facing fears about what that meant financially, health concerns, things like that. So I think everyone just faces those things day by day, and we adjust. And I think a really valuable overarching maybe guide right now would be that we don't fight the change. We kind of just embrace it and say, today's going to be a new normal, and we're going to do what's required to get to the end of the day and not just survive it, but be intact and pursue wellness together. So there's a new level of flexibility and community required for supporting each other through just an unprecedented time.
Well, I remember you saying, go ahead, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, Laura, so when you're talking to couples or even individuals and they're going through all of the, and I'm sure there's certain times and they're going through certain levels, when they're facing these things. But when you're talking to someone who's especially fearful, and especially they, obviously there's questions and as much as, the news is feeding you information and whether it's good or bad or whatever, there's a lot of fear. What do you share with people in order to turn that fear around and encourage people within that, whether it's, a married couple or even individuals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, firstly, we start by parsing out what's happening for people. So fear is certainly a natural reaction to things that we can't predict and we don't understand. And fear is a natural reaction to having something that you threaten, that matters to you, be threatened, whether that's your safety or health or, again, your employment, things like that. So firstly, we start by parsing out what is fear that's based on something very real, and what is anxiety, which is more like the what ifs and letting something kind of have a ripple effect of well, if this and what about that, and kind of letting your mind run. And then other people, I think, are having a difficult time adjusting to just the uncertainties and these kind of dips in between, having a new element of news or a new order and then adjusting, and then the space in between where we don't know what's going to happen next. A lot of people find the uncertainty is just disorienting. It feels like not having gravity and kind of floating and not knowing how to predict what comes next and to plan for it. So, for people who are people of faith, I think perfect love drives out fear. We have to go to the source of a love that does not end and will not give up and will not leave us or forsake us. And when I think about that perfect love, I think of that pushing out fear. It displaces fear when we allow that to come in and we focus on, the scripture says that God's love will not fail. It will not fail us right now. And we use that as a tool to push back the darkness of fear. And when that's related to fear, but anxiety is different. That's a lot of work that you do to meditate on on scripture or truths that displace the what ifs, that are a little bit more like your mind racing. You know, those things we have control over, and we can stop ourselves and replace it with truth, or reach out to somebody and say, hey, can you help me? I just need to get my feet back on the ground here. What, you know, talk to me about reality right now. Like get my head straight. And then those things about the uncertainties and the waves. And again, you know, there's something emotional that happens in between those adjustment periods, again, day to day. In those spaces, I think you do what brings you strength and what brings you peace. So those practices that carry you through, hey man, we're making a leap from here to here in our lives. And while we're flying through the air, this is what we do. We speak these things aloud. We put on worship music. We take a walk. We move our bodies. We reach out to someone. We practice something in that space because it helps ground us and help us to get to the next point where we feel solid. So those are, you know, for people who have a resource that is God as our resource, those are really helpful tools for right now.
Well, Laura, you know, at this time, I would say, like, when I first found out that I was going to be needing to work from home for, at least I thought, temporarily for about a week, I said, oh, you know, I can wake up and dress, I can put on my PJs, and then, you know, that sounded exciting. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have young kids, so that may not been sounding so exciting for people who have younger kids. My kids are an adult, but I was like, this is awesome. I can just wake up and go downstairs, put on a nice top, and be great. But then 1 week turned into 2 weeks, 2 weeks into, you know, 3 weeks, and so the walls are kind of closing in. And it looks like, yeah. For my extrovert over here. For my So what I wanted to say is, like, because we know that we're going to be on pretty much on stay-home orders. 90% of the country is on stay-home orders. Mm-hmm. And so what can you tell families now that are experiencing maybe that tension, now that we know that it's really we're going to be in close quarters for quite some time now?
Yes. Firstly, that it's real. That's real. Mm-hmm. That's real. Nobody, you know, I talk to people, you know, married and families or singles. Nobody envisioned being kept in their homes indefinitely together. And so the things that, you know, people's true colors are showing in a lot of ways, you know, things that you thought, oh, that's fine, I can ignore that, are certainly coming to the forefront. So I think that's an invitation. We have an invitation to focus, right? I don't have anybody to point to, but probably. So that, I just think, like, things are coming to the surface. So that, just know that is real. And I think that is a beautiful challenge. The things that are, you know, heated and are under pressure that come to the surface. All right, let's grapple with those things. These are habits or ways of being or attitudes or ways of thinking and routines and other things. Okay, we're going to have to face those things together, and we're going to have to be creative and flexible in that. And I like it as a challenge. I think, good, let's rise to it. This is an important time. And I'll say something at some point about, you know, would love to have ourselves as a family and others hold this progression of, you know, there's survival, and then we can thrive, and then there's revival. And I want to kind of talk about how I think we could move through all those in this time. That's our invitation. So we'll see. See if we have time.
Of course. That sounds awesome. I just wanted to take this opportunity to just, if anybody's got any questions right now for Laura, now's the opportunity. Pop in. Also, I would like to know from Power Couples Rock community, what are you guys doing as families, as couples during this thing to survive and thrive within this? Are you guys finding opportunities to maybe spend time together that you didn't have before, and doing some things that you feel you can pull through to when we get to the other side of whatever the new normal is, that you'll continue to do those things? And maybe you're finding some things in all of this that you never knew you had. And I think, to Laura's point, it's like, are we looking at this as an opportunity to take our our marriages and our relationships and our families to the next level as power couples, or are we backing up in fear? Let's, and so we want to hear from everyone. If you have maybe something that you've done that you can share with other power couples here that are watching online, we'd love to be able to pop that on the screen and kind of talk about some of those things. So I just wanted to do that. I hope it didn't interrupt anything, but the whole survive and thrive and now revive.
Yes.
I'd love to get to that too.
I want to lean into that.
Let's go with it now.
Let's do it. All right, here's what I'm about to reveal live, my technical skills. Here's how it's going to go. Okay, so I made you these slides.
Oh,
from my colleague.
I can't see that. I can't.
Okay, so can you see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that survival is about instinct. We're going to talk a little bit about instinct.
Ooh, that's good.
Thriving utilizes intention. It's what you intend and how you live into your intention. And revival is about investment and knowing the time you're in and how to invest well to bear fruit. So I have 3 slides, very technical slides.
Your technical skills, Laura.
Yes, I know.
Well, Laura, I'm gonna tell you, I love this because everything we've done is so, we're looking at the screen so much that having that little visual right there reminds me of, I missed that. I need that.
There's paper and pens. I know.
It's a throwback. We need that.
We could be done with screens and that would be okay. But except for right here. So I want to talk first about survive and instinct. I know this is a lot of work. I'll talk through this, but I want to think about, it's hard to get it centered because it's a little bit off. That we have good instincts. God has wired us with good instincts for good things, like to be informed, to connect, to quiet our fears, to quiet anxiety, to be prepared, maybe to rest or sleep more, maybe to grieve and feel disappointed about some of the losses, maybe to reprioritize or to kind of get back to basics with our families or, just the things that matter to us and get a little bit simpler in a lot of ways, or maybe to just nourish and rest and enjoy. These are all really good instincts, but instincts can go a little bit awry, right? So we know that with these good instincts, we can respond by shutting down, by disengaging, by numbing or escaping. This sense of wanting to quiet anxiety can actually fuel it because it can become panic as you try and engage that without resources. Some people are finding they're kind of binging on things, or they're fretting, or they're ruminating, or they're letting their thoughts run amok, or people are scrolling. This idea of wanting to be informed. There's being informed, and then there is this phenomenon that I will tell you about, that I hear about. I have heard this phrase more in the last 2 weeks than I've ever heard of my whole life. Going down the rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
That's one of my favorites.
Yes.
So I just keep saying to people, like, I don't know where all these rabbits are in my city that are digging all these holes. All these people are going down.
Exactly.
But 9 out of 10 times I'm hearing somebody say, man, I had a really hard time. It's because I went down the rabbit hole of scrolling and clicking. And so things like being informed or staying connected means, okay, I'll get on my social media, but that is it. There's such a thing as kind of having emotional whiplash. And I think that's what's happening for a lot of people as they're scrolling through, is they're haha, there's a joke, and then there's something terrible and debilitating. And then, people are sharing all of their different experiences or opinions, and it can be too much. So meeting that need for connection or information is not positive when we use our phones to do that. So I would say limiting that is a really important part. So then I think, okay, so the ways that we can survive, we know how to follow those instincts and just do the basics. But what if we wanted to thrive instead? What if we want this time to be a time where we're thriving? I think that this is the time where we use our intentions. So it might be really easy to just eat not nutritious food and lay around and not put on pants every day and just wear your pajamas. Or,
Guilty. Sorry.
I do put on pants.
Okay, you put on
No,
pants.
that's not what I heard, Catherine.
It's optional. Feels so optional, or not brushing your teeth or whatever. Like, okay, wait a second. We have to apply some. Don't point. You're not supposed to point at each other. No, not brushing your teeth. So we have ways. Okay, so we have these instincts that are just going to, make us move forward. But we can also have intention, and if we want to thrive, we will use our intention well. We will walk and exercise. We'll move our bodies. We'll get outside. We will take time to breathe and pray. Again, we won't fight the change. We'll embrace it. These are things that you have to set your mind to be intentional about. Turning on worship music. That was something Dahlia Arnold recommended to our family earlier this week, and it just changed the tone. And practicing gratitude, or seeing others. This is something that takes a lot of intention. When our instinct is for self-protection, we want to turn in on ourselves, just protect ourselves and just store up just enough for us. But I think it is so important right now to be intentional about seeing other people that are in this too, and maybe feel unseen. There are a lot of people. So from medical providers to older neighbors or family members or people who are vulnerable, or just your everyday, friend or neighbor who's juggling all of a sudden their kids and their work, or people who have lost their jobs. I think we can be a light, and we can be a beacon of hope if we can just turn from ourselves and see someone else and their experience. And yes, we're in it together, but it doesn't change how it feels for each of us to be in it if we don't see each other. So
that's such a great point, Laura. It's like you're right. We think about ourselves in this so much, and all of these people that may have felt like they were unseen before all this happened. This just compounds those feelings in this sort of situation. So now more than ever, those are the people we need to be reaching out to.
That's right. And even in our homes, and both of us, Matt and I, as parents, or the kids, we have to be intentional about seeing what it's like for them. For, one of our kids is not too sad to be out of school. The other one is pretty sad to be out of school. And, just seeing like, oh, this experience for you, we're thinking about how to get groceries and toilet paper and juggle work. But they're living it too. So, and our spouses, right? Like we're juggling this together. So I think taking a breath and really asking God who needs to be seen, and responding to that, because I think that's the way that we can thrive, because we get joy from that also. There's meaning in this.
We have a lady in our neighborhood. She's like a grandmother to our boys, and we have just been checking on her pretty much every day or every other day, because she really kind of lives by herself, and she's in her late 70s, and we just want to make sure that she's doing okay. So we've been by there, we've called, just because she has community, she knows she has support. It's been really for us to reach out and thrive in that situation.
And I want to add something to what Carlos said. I saw that the Johnsons talked about, being intentional about working out in their garage, and the kids would join them sometimes. So that what we're doing is we walk around the community. Around the community, I saw that one of my neighbors had her kids design little cards on the bench that said, "We love our neighbors," and that just does something to you when you see those little type of things that people are doing in the community, because we do need that interaction, and we do need to feel like it's okay. And it's really cool how they were, doing that during this time.
I love that. I know that has been encouraging for us too, to walk through the neighborhood and have there be messages. We see you, keep going. We're all in this together. We're going to make it. Those things that, if that hits you in the right moment when you're feeling down or sluggish, it can really give a boost. So I think just as the body of Christ, as a people of God, that's our role right now, is to really be his eyes and ears and listen for that need. So I think that, Lisa, thriving, because it means you're superseding the circumstances and doing more than just what our instinct dictates. And then finally, this is personal to me, but also I think for all of us, we can push even past thriving. Like, we'll make it, we'll be okay, we'll feel pretty good, like we're doing a good job. But I think we could do more as the body of Christ. This time could be a time when we revive our relationships in the body of Christ. And I believe that the church is a web of relationships. And that's what we do as clinicians, is we help to invite healing in those spaces. But this is a time where I think if we can not only supersede or transcend the circumstances and get a big vision for what it means for us to be light and hope and love, and to embody this, what a perfect, impossible setting for anything beautiful to happen, but for the Spirit of God, right? That there's a lot of darkness. I even have a friend who has spoken this. There could be waves of darkness right now, but we could be praying back that darkness. We can be fighting against that darkness. We can be beams of light in that darkness. And never before has there been a time where not never before in human history, but not in probably our lifetimes, the setting hasn't been so perfect for that. So when I think about, like, God's work starts at impossible, at a time where people are social distancing, are disconnected, they're on screens, you know what? What better time for God to show what bonds and unity and connection and relationship looks like, right? I mean, we could supersede this and this, I think maybe I don't even need the sign. I'll use it. But I also think, this is a time where, and this is a little bit about what Harold and Dahlia spoke about last time to some extent, but I think if we can push through the resistance of our circumstances right now, the rewards are going to be greater. This is like running with weights on right now. If we can do in obedience, what we need to do to love our families and our neighbors and one another and meet needs. I think it's like when this lifts or returns to some version of normal, I think the reward, like, it'll be like planting seeds that are so much more fruitful, because it was harder. The resistance was greater in this time. We can plant well now, and I think the fruit is going to be a lot greater. So when I think about
Laura,
moving from survival,
you said three things. I know you're going to go. You said three things I want to make sure that we mark here. You said God's work starts at the impossible. I thought that was amazing. You also said if we can push past the resistance, then, because it feels like we're running with weights now, but if we can push past that resistance, we know that there's going to be a lot of rewards. And so I love that we're in this revival, intentional. That is so wonderful. So I just want to make sure we mark in that and we're hearing that, because those are great phrases.
So good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll just kind of wrap this up by saying, I really think, again, another friend spoke this and it really resonated, but the Ephesians 6:12 and 13 passage that talks about, like, this battle is not about flesh and blood. There is that's a reality. We are talking about people's health and their bodies and their care. That is a very real component. And I would say we're in a different kind of battle, and to battle right now while we have these emotions and these circumstances are changing. I just think it's worth doubling down on what it means to thrive in this season. And the final thing I would say is that I think that the process of living into this investment right now would be to be really intentional about praying to God and asking for who needs to be seen and known. I'm thinking of earlier this week was reading about when Moses receives Moses's call, and God says, I heard the cries of my people, and go. I'm asking you to go. And Moses stumbles. Yeah, but I can't, and I can't speak. And what about me? And God's like, it's not about you. It's about me. I heard cries from people, and I'm asking you to go. So whatever way going looks like for you, whether that's texts or prayers or sending supplies or donating or giving or whatever generosity looks like for you. I think this is our time as a church to show up and be, because it's counterintuitive and it's counter instinctive right now. And so all the more, I think it will lead to being a light in our communities. So, and in our households, right? Because both, our spouses and our kids, everybody's going to have their own experiences in this time, and they're not going to match up. Not everybody's going to be super happy at the same time or really sad,
Exactly. Yeah. Right. I was going to talk about that. Yeah. Everybody's in their different thing on the graph, and we've experienced that, right? We've experienced that situation where it's like, I'm like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good about things. And she's like, have you seen the numbers? And have you seen, and it's just like all of this, there's a back and forth of fear. And so we just feel like we've got to try and support each other through that, because we're not always going to be aligned in our own heads. Well, and our kids are seeing that too, right? We have to be modeling that, and we have to your point, Laura, we have to be like responsibly reaching out to people and remember what's most important in all of this. It's not ourselves. It's not toilet paper, for God's sake. It's, this is, this
although I'm gonna need some pretty soon, but
I got some. I got you covered.
It's the priority now, but it was the priority, and it will always be the priority. And I think that's what we have to focus on.
In full transparency, during this particular time, sometimes I don't feel like that I'm giving Katherine the full attention, quality time at this point, because there's been so much disruption, and my job has I've been inundated with just so much to do, and I'm working probably 12 to 14 hours, and my guilt comes through because I feel like I need to be spending more time with her. So I'm trying to carve that time out so that I can make sure that I'm giving her lost is busy during the season. I want to make sure that I'm giving her that. So I'm fully transparent at this point that I just have not been as intentional as I need to be, so that I can thrive or revive in our relationship that we need.
It's been challenging because it's been a shift for all of us, everybody. And don't forget, if you have any questions, please put that in the chat line, and we'll be happy to either have Laura of our sales answer. But one question I wanted to talk about, Laura, is because after there's going to be like, this is almost like secondary trauma to some people. And what I mean by that is because they're going to be, long after this is gone, there are going to be some emotions or triggers that come up where people are going to, they miss their graduations. They couldn't go to bury people, attend funerals. It's going to be a whole host of emotion. And how can we apply what you talked tonight to get them through that?
Yeah, that's
a great
hard.
question.
Yeah. I think that is such an insightful question, because certainly that is the case. People who have had experiences previously that are still being affected by how that lives in their bodies and their minds and their memories. Certainly this kind of time can bring that all to the forefront. I would definitely encourage people, if you're experiencing something that feels like distress, to reach out to a professional, a counselor who can help with some of those symptoms and understand the cause of that. But more generally, a common factor in what causes a traumatic effect in people. So there's a difference between experiencing trauma and then having it affect you in an ongoing way. And one of the major characteristics of that is powerlessness. You didn't feel like you had any way to change or protect the situation, a person or yourself, or make a change in the situation. And so anything that feels empowering in a really positive way, or anything that you can do to lend that to another person right now, is a really important thing, a way for somebody to feel like I have some agency in what happens here, can feel really significant. And also physical movement, again, is a really significant part of moving that grief from our bodies. And because that does get embedded in our bodies. But also just, what you described is, there are a lot of losses in here. So I would, like you said, people's expectations or plans or being able to be present with a family member or, life events or things like that otherwise were changed, that it's okay to grieve some of that and to lament and to take that to people that you love or to God and be honest about that. And I do hear this happens a lot, that people will say, well, this was a loss. I didn't get to attend this funeral or have my wedding, or, it feels like a loss, but I know other people are suffering more. And the perspective is good to keep other people in mind, but it's not meant to diminish how real that feels to you. So I just think, again, to the point of seeing others in what they're doing, it's okay to apply that to yourself too, to see, what, I'm disappointed. I'm grieved. That was a loss and it hurts. And it's bringing a lot of things up. To tell the truth about that it can be empowering in the way that that helps move traumatic responses to a lesser degree. So that's a few thoughts off the cuff, but maybe others have questions.
I know for me, and I was talking with Chris about this the other day, just about being grateful, gratitude.
Wow.
I think now during this time, it's more important than ever to be grateful and think about the things that you do have and not what you've lost, not what you're missing. Of course, we have those things and we're going to grieve, and some people will grieve more than others. But I think when you sit back and look at what you really do have, sometimes it can help get through a little bit easier dealing with the things that you've lost or that you're losing, that you feel like you have no control over.
Yeah.
So for me, it's gratitude.
Wow.
And humor. Yeah, I hear people talking about humor. I mean, it'd be a really good time to find some good jokes.
It really would be.
That's it. It's so important. Yeah, it's a coping mechanism.
Here's a comment here. It's challenging to move behind the survival phase when worry and uncertainty abounds, not about self or immediate nuclear family, but about relatives and loved ones in other countries.
Absolutely. That is very real. And again, so I wanted to distinguish between things that feel like anxiety or uncertainty or very real fears or concerns about loved ones. It is so hard, again, to that point of feeling that helplessness or powerlessness. I can't change these circumstances for the people that I love. That can be really traumatizing. It can be really painful. So firstly, I would just say, I see you. That is a very painful challenge. And I think to the extent that there are communities that can be of help, if there's any way to connect to the local community around that person and maybe build a network around that person the best you can, that's one way to engage. But yes, the worry, the uncertainty about other people, I think we have to take that to prayer. We have to take that to action. Anything that you can do to help meet that need is important, or any resource that you can call in that person's area would be important. But that's a very real experience, being far away. Yes, I hear you. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Laura Benton. This has been amazing for us, because you've talked about not only surviving and thriving, but reviving and being
brought it to a new level. We didn't even know.
We didn't even know it. It's
like
instinct.
I know. And I brought rabbits.
Exactly. But instinct, intention, and investment, which is so helpful. We've seen a lot of comments about how helpful this has been. And so I just want to thank you for what you've done. And so everybody can see at the strolling bar there how they can get in touch with Laura. If they have any questions or want to connect with her, I guarantee you will definitely enjoy it. There'll be a major value add if you do connect with her, which is awesome. So we've had a wonderful relationship with her for over 2 years, and she's the same from the first time we met her till today. So thank you
that's good,
for being in community
We
with us.
appreciate you. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would say too about, the element of revive. I'll loop back to what Harold and Dahlia were talking about last time, and the Eusebia experience. That is one place where I think of taking things to the next level. So we should all meet there. That's what I'm saying. In October, when we're all allowed to travel. That's where we should meet.
Let's do it.
Yes,
Good.
I love
Thank you so
it.
much.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Laura, it was great. It was great meeting you.
you.
I gotta say, the greatest part of everything was your slides.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant.
I know we all forgot about paper, but I'm just bringing it back. I'm just revising paper.
I love it.
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Right.
Say hi to Matt. Say hi to Matt.
I will.
All right.
Oh man, that was next level. That was next level.
Next level. Well, I love it. You ready? You're ready now for our musical guest. I tell you, I met this couple a few years ago, and his dad and I and mom, we all went to college together. And this guy has grown up as what I consider to be a musical prodigy. And his wife has the pipes of a canary. She's so beautiful in her singing and and this is what I actually absolutely love about them, is they're sold out for Christ.
Yeah.
They're completely sold out for Christ. 100%.
Well,
so,
what are we waiting on?
Well, okay, let's not wait anymore. I want to bring on our show our musical guests, Carlous and Janelle Drake of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my God, we're so excited about having you guys on.
Oh, thank you. We're so excited. How's everyone doing?
We're doing well. We're doing even better now.
Keyboard, man. Look at
that
angle you put up, man. Look at that. The whole screen is
love it.
like a station. That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't have this. When we talked, I didn't have this set up yet, but gonna do some music for you guys, and we're just so gracious, and we thank you for allowing us to come on. And I guess you all know during this time it's so it's different. It's a new normal, and it's giving us a chance as creatives to be able to be at home and do music. I don't know about any of you all, but I'm an introvert, so I at home. I'm gonna put on the video game, do some music, eat up all the food, and I'm good. I don't have to, I save so much money on gas.
Well, cool. If you would tell us a little bit about how you guys met, Carlous and Janelle. Like, what? How did you guys meet? What's your story? We'd love to hear it real quick.
How did we meet?
We met at church.
Okay.
That's a good place to meet.
I know. It's a good place to meet. We got a funny story though. So, he was a musician and I was in the choir. I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. And so I did not originally have plans on coming to Chattanooga, but I wound up here at UTC. And so when I got here, I was told, you need to go make sure you visit Olivet Baptist Church. Mm-hmm. And so I went there and got involved with the choir. He was a musician, and I was singing for 2-3 years before he said 2 words to me.
Well, he said he was an introvert, Janelle. So.
Right.
He's not lying. He wasn't lying. Okay. So the introvert part of him thought, let me engage with her on Twitter. We have so many archived tweets from him asking me out on dates and him telling me, we should go out sometime. And eventually, I took him up on his offer, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's awesome. How long have you been married?
7 years.
7 years. Congratulations.
That's so awesome.
That is awesome. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I am so looking forward to finally meeting you all. Yeah. And then also I've been hearing your music. Now I get to hear it live. And so I'm just ready for you to bless us.
Oh, thank you.
Let's do it.
You ready?
Yeah. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carlous and Janelle.
All right, you guys let me know before we start. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, can you hear the piano?
Oh,
Yes.
Great. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna sing. This is a song. It's called "Lay It on the Altar." It was actually written by Carlos's dad, who we call Big Carlos, and we thought that it was just so fitting for this time. It talks about whatever it is that you're carrying, whatever burdens you have. We have like such a loving Father that's told us that we can lay those at His feet. We don't have to carry those with us. And so we just want to remind everyone of that and encourage them to do just that.
And such a great song for the time that we're in.
Yeah.
When a lot of people have a lot of things going on. I've seen conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory on social media. People just don't know what to expect. And so this song is just talking about putting all your cares, all your burdens, everything that you have on your mind that's burdening you, to give it to God. So, you ready, Janelle?
Lay it on the altar. Lay it on the altar. Lay it on the altar. And let Him take it away. Lay it on the altar. Lay it on the altar. Lay it on the altar. And let Him take it away. It's at the altar. It's at the altar. All of your burdens, leave them there. They stay right there. It's at the altar. It's at the altar. All of your burdens, leave them there. He wants you to leave them there. Take it away. Take it away. Lay it on the altar. Lay it on the altar. You can't leave it there. And let Him take it away. Lay it on the altar. And let Him take it away.
Wow. That was beautiful.
I told you she had a voice like a canary, right?
Wow.
Beautiful. Okay. And this prodigy that can play that piano.
No. I appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you.
It is so good. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for being sold out.
Thank you. We enjoy what we do. When I met Janelle, she was someone that I told her when we started talking that I thought she was so sweet and she had such a passion and a gift. She had a passion for God, and you could see that passion manifest in the gift that she had. And I enjoyed to be able to do ministry with her. It is a blessing, and it is an honor to do music for God. The biggest honor is to bless people. So we thank you. Thank you for having us. And we have to meet each other in person.
Yes.
I mean, we even went to Chattanooga, Carlos, and you decided you were going to go to Florida.
I was on the beach.
Oh, you'd rather go to the beach than meet me? Come on.
right, I'm not going to argue with
Florida
that.
trip is probably going to get canceled, so we could probably make that happen.
That's right.
Right. I would be remiss if I did not mention it to all the power couples that are watching us live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Go right now online, because the wonderful thing about you don't have to leave your house anymore to go and buy music or to listen to music. You can jump online and you can go and find this, which is the debut album by Carlous and Janelle. It's called What Else, right? If you're 100% sold out to Jesus Christ, if you're going to call an album something, it is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So go now and find that album and go and listen to it. And guys, thank you so much for sharing your gift with us.
So much. It's so
amazing.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
So we're here. We just want to thank Laura Benton and Carlous and Janelle Drake for blessing us with that information, as well as the song that you also provided. That was perfect. That was awesome. So thank you so much for being on the show with us tonight. And then in the next 2 weeks, just premiere.
Can we tell everybody?
We can premiere that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't even know who's coming out in 2 weeks.
You don't even know.
This is a surprise to Sonya now.
It is. So our next show, we're going to actually have Dr. Dwayne Buckingham out of Maryland, who's going to be on the show. And we're going to actually have Cole and Mindy Jeanette, who is right here out of Georgia. So those will be our guests. But we have actually taken this show to the next level tonight with Laura and Carlous and Janelle.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
guys, there's, at this point, what we do at the end of every show, every podcast, everything that we do, we just got to end the show in the same way. So everybody that's out there on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, here with us today, everyone, let's get powered up.
Oh, I had that on mute. I had it on mute.
April Malone Lewis, who is that?
I don't know.